In 1930, a single law changed the course of global history. It was meant to protect American jobs and farmers, but instead, it helped plunge the world deeper into the Great Depression. This law was called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. It raised taxes on over 20,000 imported goods, and in return, the world raised walls against America. Factories closed, unemployment soared, international trade collapsed. How did a single economic decision trigger global retaliation, deepen a depression, and become one of the most infamous policies in U.S. history? This is the story of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff. The 1920s in America were wild. The economy was booming. Radios, cars, washing machines, products were flying off the shelves. The stock market was the new national obsession. People were getting rich overnight. Or so it seemed. But beneath the glitter of the Jazz Age, cracks were forming. Farmers, who had fed the world during World War I, were drowning in debt and overproduction. Small banks were fragile, wages weren't keeping up with productivity, and most Americans didn't own any stocks at all. By the end of the decade, the stock market bubble was inflating fast, and no one wanted to admit it. Two names would soon go down in history: Senator Reed Smoot and Representative Willis Hawley. They weren't villains. In fact, they believed they were saving the American economy. Smoot was a Utah senator and a Mormon elder, a man of discipline and numbers. He believed in industry and protection. Hawley, from Oregon, was a former professor of history. He cared deeply about farmers suffering from falling crop prices. Together, they drafted a bill to raise tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. Their logic? If foreign goods became more expensive, Americans would buy local, and jobs would be saved. But Washington was not a place of pure logic. Lobbyists rushed in. Industries fought to get their products added to the protection list. What began as a farm relief bill turned into a monster. Even as economists and business leaders warned of disaster, Congress pressed on. So, what is a tariff anyway? Imagine you own a shoe store. You sell American-made shoes for $50. But suddenly, cheaper shoes from overseas flood the market. They cost only $30. Customers flock to the cheaper ones, and your business struggles. A tariff is like adding a price tag to foreign goods, say, an extra $20 tax, making them cost $50, just like yours. It's meant to protect your store, to give you a fighting chance. Now scale that up to an entire nation. In the late 1920s, American farmers were desperate. European agriculture had recovered after World War I. Crop prices were falling fast. Industries feared foreign competition. Politicians feared losing votes. And so, the logic was simple. Let's raise tariffs. Let's protect American jobs. But the global economy is not a one-way street. When you tax their goods, they tax yours. That's how trade wars begin. On June 17, 1930, President Herbert Hoover signed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act into law. Despite a petition signed by over 1,000 economists urging him not to, the reaction was swift. Countries like Canada, France, Germany, and the UK struck back. They raised tariffs on American goods. Retaliation had begun. American exports dropped by nearly 60% in just 2 years. Factories shut down, crops rotted without foreign buyers. Over 9,000 banks failed between 1930 and 1933. Unemployment hit 25%. In small towns across the Midwest, farmers burned their crops, not in protest, but because it was cheaper than selling them. In cities, families lined up for food. Soup kitchens replaced restaurants. And still, politicians argued that tariffs were working. Smoot-Hawley was supposed to save jobs. Instead, it deepened the Great Depression. It turned a global slowdown into a global collapse. Economists still argue over just how much blame it deserves. But one thing is clear: trade wars have consequences. Decades later, echoes of Smoot-Hawley return. In 2018, the United States imposed new tariffs on Chinese steel, aluminum, and hundreds of other products. China hit back. Billions in trade were disrupted. Farmers again felt the pain. The lesson? Trade isn't just about numbers. It's about people, relationships, balance. Protecting your own economy sounds patriotic, but it can cost everyone in the end. A single law, signed on a summer day in 1930, helped change the course of global history. Smoot and Hawley believed they were helping. But the ripple effects of their decision echoed across oceans and generations. From shuttered factories in Detroit, to collapsing farms in Kansas, to new powers rising in Germany and Japan. When economies fall, anger rises. And sometimes, that anger feeds ideologies far more dangerous than tariffs. Today, we face many of the same fears: job loss, foreign competition, economic uncertainty. But history whispers to us. It says, look back before you move forward. Because the lessons of Smoot-Hawley weren't written in books alone. They were written in the lives of millions.